All right, guys, we got to talk about this. A lot of the comments on this channel about Denver have gotten very negative. And to be honest, I don't disagree. But what so many of my clients have figured out is that while Denver kind of starts the search and is the initial place to look when relocating to Colorado, they explore the suburbs and find out that's where the real value and the best places to live are.
That is true. That's true.
Today, we're going to give you some of the best suburbs around Denver in a rapid fire sequence so you can have all the information about moving to Denver, and maybe not Denver specifically, but one of the amazing suburbs. Guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tim Kampmann, your host for Everything Denver, Colorado, where we talk about everything real estate related around Denver. All the amazing neighborhoods, suburbs, and places to live, work, and play in the Colorado area. So if you're thinking of a move here, make sure you hit me up, call, text, or email. I got your back on all things Denver real estate. So I've noticed on a lot of my videos specifically about Denver and some of the neighborhoods around Denver, whether that be Whittier, Five Points, Sunnyside, Highlands, Capitol Hill, any of them, I tend to get some comments about Denver being a brutal place to live, and it's not as bad as everyone says, but what my clients have noticed is that the real value and the best places to live in the Denver metro area actually outside that kind of interior Denver urban area. So today we're starting off with suburbs around Denver and what makes them unique, different from each other, and why they're a better place to live, and any of the cons that to go along with it. First suburb is going to be Highlands Ranch. Now, Highlands Ranch is located on the south end of Denver. You're probably about a 20-minute commute up into the middle of Denver if you need to commute there for work. Highlands Ranch is really the quintessential suburban neighborhood. If you have a picture of the suburbs in your head, Highlands Ranch is going to fit it to a T. Everything about it is very suburban, very uniform, conformed. Everything kind of matches. Everything's pretty kind of like maybe Stepford Wives style, where everything's kind of perfect neighborhoods, manicured lawns and things like that. It's a very large suburban area of Denver. Over 100,000 residents live in this area. And it's really great for a lot of families that want good schools. The school district is rated very high down here. You do have a lot of outdoor amenities that are nearby, whether that be open space, trails, numerous parks for families. You might not have as big of a community feel compared to one of the smaller suburbs of Denver, but in some of these neighborhoods I have noticed that they're fairly tight-knit, and if people have lived there a long time, gotten to know each other, you can have a community feel there, but you don't have the same community feel as you would in, say, a Littleton or maybe an Arvada. Another benefit is the rec centers in Highlands Ranch. So if you live here, you do pay HOA dues no matter where you live in Highlands Ranch, and those do contribute to you being able to use one of the 4 rec centers. And these are great for families. Have a pool right in your backyard of your own neighborhood to be able to access. Now, some neighborhoods in Highlands Ranch will have a secondary HOA for additional amenities, whether that be a more localized, neighborhood-only type of pool or different amenities like that. Now, some of the downsides of Highlands Ranch are higher home prices. Median price right now is probably around $650,000. Most of the homes you're going to find on Highlands Ranch are going to be in that $700,000 range for a single family. Condos and townhomes, there's not as many of them. Those are really starting in the $550,000 to $600,000 range. And we do have a few luxury neighborhoods that are. Downsides to this Highlands Ranch area are the lack of uniqueness. A lot of people don't like that every home kind of looks very similar. They're almost identical in the style and size that they're built in. And there's not a lot of walkable things to do unless you live very close to, say, a town center area where you can have access to a couple more local bars, breweries, and things like that. That's not really what Highlands Ranch is known for. Very suburban, chain restaurants, big box stores, suburbs on steroids. Next, we move up to Centennial, and this is just on the south end of Denver as well, but north of Highlands Ranch and to the east of I-25. Now, this neighborhood really fits a lot of young professionals or young families that are looking for quick commutability, still some more uniqueness, walkability, and good school districts. So Centennial does feed into the Cherry Creek School District, which is one of the highest rated in the Denver metro area. But Centennial also has a little bit more historic charm. Some of the neighborhoods are going to be a little bit older, and as a result, home prices are a little bit more favorable, but you're getting a little less square footage for your money. So median price right now in Centennial is about $575. But this also comes with the fact that a lot of these homes are going to be significantly smaller than ones you would find at Highlands Ranch, Parker, Castle Rock, or some of the other suburbs around it. Now, commutability, I said, is very favorable in this area. You do have close access to the Denver Tech Center, which is a big employment hub in the Denver metro area. A lot of corporate jobs, a lot of finance jobs, a lot of tech jobs in this hub on the south end of Denver. Now, you do have a lot more local you are going to have access to a lot more local bars and restaurants than you would in, say, Highlands Ranch. Walkability is going to be a little bit better too, and there's a few more unique options of just things to do. You do have a Topgolf over here. You have numerous sports bars, numerous restaurants, a lot of cafes and boba shops and things that you have access to. So it's kind of a good blend. If you don't want everything to be totally suburban, but you want more of that suburban feel without being totally Highlands Ranch style, Centennial can be a good option. You'll find neighborhoods where the homes were built in the 50s and 60s and have a little bit more historic charm, ranches, built brick ranches and things like that. Then you move into some of the newer some of the ones that were built in the 70s and 80s, and so you have some tri-levels and bi-levels, ranches, and colonial style two-story homes. And then further east you go, you will get into the more 90s and early 2000s builds that are more of your traditional two stories and have a little bit more of a suburban feel. The further east you go, the less unique it's going to find, and the closer to parts of Aurora that you're going to be. Now, a couple of cons of Centennial are, commute. Even though it is very close to a lot of things, traffic can be a little bit more congested in these areas because a lot of people have moved there. You do butt up to Aurora in a couple of areas, but these are the better areas of Aurora, I would say. The southeast corner and kind of the south end of Aurora and Centennial, where they blend together. You hear a lot about the problems that Aurora has, but most of those are tied into the north end and where it ties into Denver Metro and the city of Denver specifically. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. That you may, even when you're touring houses, find one on one side of the street that's Centennial and another one on the other side of the street that's Aurora. They just blend together a lot on that east end. And property values have been fairly healthy there because of the good school district and its close proximity to Denver. Our next neighborhood is Littleton. And this is actually one of my favorites along the South Metro area. And Littleton has a lot of uniqueness, a lot of historic charm. And so if you're a person that's looking for suburban living, but not Highlands Ranch style, and you want more historic charm and maybe a little bit tighter knit community than you would find in, say, a Centennial, Littleton can be the perfect place. So just to the east of Centennial, Littleton is also on the south end of Denver, and this center part of Littleton is kind of the old town Littleton with the most historic charm and most tight-knit community feel. You do have a very charming main street where you have local shops, local bars and restaurants down there. And the city does put on a lot of events throughout the year on this main street, whether that's parades, bike races, farmers markets, other closures for other just special events that the city hosts that really kind of bring the community out and a chance to get to know your neighbors and a lot of the people that live around you. Now, if you move a little bit further to the west, you're going to find the Littleton that was built in the 70s and 80s and early 90s. And these are going to be more of those homes that are the tri-level style feel, the bi-levels, ranches, and traditional colonials, much like we see in parts of Centennial. If you're in that historic part of Littleton, if you're close to the inner parts of that downtown, you may be able to even see a historic home that was built in the early 20s or 30s. So it does have more historic charm in that sense. As you move further out from that, of course, the homes get a little bit newer and a little bit different style. Now, there is a new pocket of Littleton that's on the very south end, and it's close to this Chatfield Reservoir and a lot of open space, and it's called Sterling Ranch. Now, Sterling Ranch definitely has more of a Highlands Ranch feel. It's going to be very suburban. It's just a master plan community of thousands of homes being built up here. Not a lot to do specifically as far as shopping or other entertainment options in that area, so you're kind of on an island right now as they continue to build it out, but eventually they will have more shopping, stores, and things to do, and recreation. Median home price in Littleton right now is going to be around $600,000, and depending on where you're looking, some of those will be smaller, like the Centennial style homes. Some of them will be larger on that southwest corner of Littleton. And then if you get into that newer development of Sterling Ranch, most of the homes there are going to be 700, 750 plus. So that one's a little bit of an outlier in that respect, because these are larger, newer homes. Now, Littleton is a favorite of families for a couple of reasons. You've got great outdoor activities to do, a lot of parks, a lot of trails, closer access to the mountains than any of the other neighborhoods that we've talked about so far. You also have good schools in the Littleton area. If you move a little bit further to the west, on that west side of Littleton, the school district changes from Littleton Public Schools to Jefferson County Public Schools. Jeffco is not quite as highly rated as Littleton, so something to consider if you're moving out here with kids. Our next neighborhood is Parker. Parker is on the southeast corner of the Denver metro area, and it's actually outside of kind of what I call the C470 bubble that's around the Denver metro area. So while it is an outlying suburb of Colorado, it definitely deserves to make this list because so many people are moving there and there is so much development happening there. So median home prices for the homes in the Parker area is going to be around $625,000. You are getting a larger home and more square footage and a little bit more breathing room from your neighbors in a town like Parker than you are in a Littleton or a Centennial. Now, the con to living in Parker is it's further away from the Denver metro area. So if you do have to commute every day up into Denver, it could be a little bit of a longer drive for a lot of people, between 30 and 45 minutes in most cases, depending on where you have to get in Denver. But the reason a lot of people have decided to move here is for the cleanliness, newness of the neighborhoods. You are going to have a lot of HOAs similar to Highlands Ranch in this pocket of the metro area, but there are certain neighborhoods that do not have them still, some of the older ones on the north end of Parker. And as you move further to the south, you'll find a lot of newer developments. So if you are thinking of getting a new home in a brand new community, new development, Parker definitely has several options for you to choose from, ranging from about $650,000 up into the $1 million plus price. Another reason people have chosen Parker as a great place to live is it has more space from your neighbors. Not only are the subdivision areas going to be a little bit further spread apart and have a little bit larger yard spaces, but if you move to the east of Parker, you'll actually find homes that are on acreage. So you will find homes that have horse property, 5-10 acres, have a larger garden, have your own greenhouse, have chickens, have goats, have horses, have if you have more land, have cattle. So a lot of people looking to escape the urban environments of Denver that want more of a suburban feel, they do tend to go out to like a Parker or Castle Rock or one of the outskirt areas for a little bit more space and distance from their neighbors. I know I'm going through a lot of this information quick, just giving you the quick hits of every suburb, but I've actually done in-depth videos on every single one on my playlist, Is This a Good Place to Live, that you can find here and look through all of these suburbs and a couple more that we don't have time to hit on in this video specifically. So our next suburb is going to be Arvada. Now this is moving further to the north and to the west. So Arvada is going to be kind of the northwest corner of Denver. When you leave Denver off of I-70, you're going to find Arvada, kind of surrounded by Wheat Ridge, Westminster, and a couple of other suburban areas to the west. This does have closer access to the foothills and to the mountains. So if you're going to be making trips up to the high country, skiing, snowboarding, mountain biking on a regular basis, and you want to be a little bit closer, Arvada can be a good option for you there. Median home price in Arvada is going to be right around $550, $575. It has been a little bit more affordable in some cases, but again, some of the homes are going to be a little bit older, a little bit smaller footprint than some of the other ones that you see in the other suburbs around. So Arvada has been a great place for a lot of young professionals who maybe don't want to live in Denver but want kind of a hip place to live still. Arvada has a cool main street, much like Littleton, where you have local bars and restaurants. You have some walkability here. There's not very many new developments happening in the Arvada area, so if you're looking for newer homes, definitely one of the places further south is going to have more options and more opportunity for you. Some cons to living in Arvada or if you need to commute west to east, or you're commuting into Denver on I-70, I have noticed it tends to get very backed up and a lot of traffic on I-70. I-25 also has a similar problem if you're coming from the south, but I have noticed it to be a little bit worse on I-70 commuting east to west. And again, that drive up to the mountains, if you're going up on weekends, can be absolutely brutal during peak ski season. So if you're able to make the trip up there during the week, it's a lot more enjoyable. Another thing to consider when moving to Arvada is it does have more homes that qualify for being in a floodplain, which can affect your insurance rates significantly. So if you're looking for homes in this area, make sure that you're double checking, maybe even before you make an offer on one, that the home is not in a floodplain, or you're prepared for that insurance cost or whatever it's going to be once the time comes to get insurance on that house before you purchase it. And that's why you got to reach out to me. There's so many different neighborhoods and so many different areas that have just unique little things about them, places that, you know, have higher propensity to foundation problems or higher propensity to floodplains like Arvada, that you really need someone in your corner to help guide you and to help make sure that we find the perfect place for you that's going to be a great investment long term and a safe place for your family. As we move further north, we're going to find the city of Thornton. Now, Thornton is on the north end of the Denver metro area, kind of right in the center of I-25, surrounded by cities like North Glen and then Erie and Dacono as you move further to the north. Probably about 30 minutes or so from Denver, depending on which part of Thornton that you're in. Thornton is actually a very large suburb of Denver, and it kind of intertwines with North Glen and a couple other smaller cities along the way. But if you live on the south end of North Glen, if you live on the south end of Thornton, you're probably only a 20-minute drive down into Denver. But if you live on the further north end of Thornton, 136th, 144th, you know, butting up to towns like Erie and Dacono, you're going to probably be 45 minutes, 50 minutes from the heart of Denver during the rush hour time. So something to consider. It is a little bit further out. Now, Thornton has a nice blend of affordable options on that south end. They are going to be a little bit smaller, a little bit cheaper. Median home price for most of the homes in this area is $500, $525. Now, as you move further to the north, you're going to find a lot of newer development, a lot more building going on, and a lot more expansion in the city as a whole. And home prices up there are going to be a little bit higher, but you're going to get a lot more for your money. So if you're thinking of moving to the Thornton area, I would budget more around the $600, $650 mark for most of the homes in this area. Again, you're a little bit further out. Commuting into Denver can be a little bit challenging. I've noticed a lot more traffic on that north end coming into Denver versus the south end going up into Denver. But it is a nice, clean suburb of Denver that's great for a lot of families. The schools are not quite as highly rated as those that are along the south end of Denver, but you're getting a new, clean suburb with a lot of suburban amenities. It is going to have maybe a little bit of that Highlands Ranch feel where there's not as much uniqueness around, but you are going to have all your suburban amenities, all your big box stores, your chain restaurants, a lot more space from your neighbors in these towns and areas, and you're also going to have great views of the mountain. I've noticed compared to the south end of town where everything was built a little bit closer to the foothills, you do have nice views of the foothills and mountains, but as you move a little bit further to the north, they're built a little bit further to the east and set back a little bit further from the mountains. So if mountain views are what you're looking for, I have noticed that more houses have more spectacular views on that north end versus the south end of town. And finally, we hit the suburb of Castle Rock. Now, as far north as Thornton is from Denver, Castle Rock is just about as far south of that. So it's kind of the opposite of Thornton in that respect. So you are going to have longer commute times up into the Denver metro area. Castle Rock is a very suburban community. You have a lot of chain restaurants, your big box stores, newer neighborhoods, HOA style neighborhoods where everything kind of looks similar and the same. You do also have a charming downtown area. So this is an area that kind of sets it apart from Highlands Ranch in the fact that it does have an old town area where it's all local shops, local cafes, local restaurants, local shopping, and it has a little bit of the aspects of Littleton in that regard. So you're getting kind of a blend of a lot of different communities when you kind of move into this Castle Rock area. Median home price is a little bit higher, around $625,000. You are getting a little bit more for your money since Castle Rock is a newer development and it was built in the late 90s, early 2000s, and it continues to expand. You are going to get a larger scale home. You're not going to have as much of the historic charm unless you're going right into the heart of that old town, downtown Castle Rock area. But a lot of people like living down here, one, for the outdoor activities and amenities. There are a ton of trails, there are tons of parks around, there are a lot of neighborhood parks, so you can almost walk right out your door, have access to a hiking trail or a biking trail, and have access to a neighborhood park to take the kids down to burn off steam and energy. You also have a lot of other outdoor activities, whether that be mountain biking in the Ridgeline open space. You also have a lot of outdoor activities, whether that be mountain biking. There's a ton of open space to explore down here. Some downsides for people are a little bit higher of a price point in this Castle Rock area than a couple of the other suburbs, and you are further from Denver and kind of lack some of the nightlife or other things that you might find in a Littleton or a Centennial. And another con people have said, I think it's kind of a pro, is the lack of public transportation. You don't have public transportation down here, so it is very car dependent. You do have a lot of very scenic surroundings here in the Castle Rock area. So not only do you have the mountains to the west, but you have things within town like the rock that sits atop that the town was named after. So it's a very scenic place to live, and if you're out walking around or taking a bike ride, you're just going to be surrounded by a lot of natural beauty. So for a lot of people, it's worth it to be a little bit further out, a little bit slower pace of life, a little bit quieter pace of life than living in that downtown area of Denver or one of the interior neighborhoods where it's going to be really noisy, not as many views, not as much nature to experience. And there you have it, a quick hitting guide to all the suburbs in and around Denver. So the best thing for us to do next, if you are thinking of a move here and you're just not sure, man, I don't know which area to pick. This is the style of home I like, and this is the place, and these are the kind of things I like to do. We can find several different neighborhoods that are going to fit that to a T. I've gotten on calls with a lot of different clients, and they say, hey, this is the style of home that I like and the type of neighborhood that I like, but I'm not sure, like, where do you find that? Is it only in Littleton? Is it only in Centennial? No, I know so many different neighborhoods that are going to have that style of home or that style of neighborhood or these close by amenities that can fit you and your family just perfectly. So don't forget to call. Don't forget to reach out. Call, text, or email. Email is usually the quickest way to get a hold of me, and then we can schedule a time to jump on a Zoom call or talk in person if you're coming out here to visit, and we can explore some of the great neighborhoods in and around the Denver metro area. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share this with anybody you think it could help.